Electric Plant Board. Glasgow Wants to Know. With your host, Mr. Uhel Barrickman.
Welcome to another series, or in a series, of Glasgow Wants to Know. We're very fortunate this evening of having three teenagers with us from the Glasgow High School. Each is a senior, and they are top students at the school. They are Angelo Pedicini, the son of Idolo and Grace Pedicini; Stacy Renfro, the daughter of Dale and Harriet Renfro; and Jessica Staten, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Staten. I'll begin the questioning with you, Angelo. What stress, if any, and how much stress do you and your peers have in coping with today's culture?
Well, for today's, what do you mean about today's culture?
Drug problems, all of the problems that may be out there that might affect you and your peers.
Oh, well, I guess that depends on how you want to perceive what the culture is like. If you can be relaxed about it and kind of take it all in stride and just live your life the way you want to, the way you want to live, and not try to worry too much about how everyone else is living.
Do you think that most of your peers take it lightly, or is it really getting to some of them?
Probably they don't take it lightly enough. They probably worry a little bit too much about how they're perceived by others, and maybe a little bit too self-conscious about themselves and how others perceive them.
Stacy, what about you and pressure? Are you subjected to pressure?
Different types I am. I don't worry that much about schools, and I just kind of let it take place. And I think most kids, I think they take it kind of lightly until they get in college and stuff, and then they graduate and they start worrying a little more when they're seniors, I think, to try to decide where they're going to go to school and what they're going to do with their life. But I think up until you're a junior or senior, they really don't worry too much about what they're going to do.
What about you, Jessica?
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm under pressure, but it's not the kind of pressure where it's gonna get me down and make me real sick or something like that. It's just I don't know, just the kind of pressure that it'll be all right tomorrow.
Well, what type of pressure are you under?
Just like school, getting good grades, getting into a good college, making my parents proud.
What about peer pressure?
It's there. It's like with the drugs.
Well, drugs, alcohol, or sex, any number of things.
I'm not under too much pressure with drugs. My friends, they don't pressure me to do something that I don't want to do. So.
Stacy?
I don't think that I've never had a problem with drugs. I've never seen or heard of anybody having someone confront them with them to buy drugs or anything like that. I'm sure it's there, but in school, for example, I've never seen anything take place there or anything like that. I think it's kind of, I'm sure it does take place, and when it does, it's kind of undercover. I mean, they don't really come out in the open and ask people that they don't know if they'll buy it or not. I don't think drugs they are a problem, but it's not that bad in the school, like in the building. They don't.
Angelo?
Well, you can perceive it one of two different ways. You can either, of course, you can submit to peer pressure, or try to put too much stock in how your friends, or even people that aren't your friends, that you might think they are your friends, you put too much stock into how they perceive you. Or you can take it, you can see it in the way of just being your own friend, and how you perceive yourself is more important than how others perceive you.
Well, are you subjected to, from time to time, by your peers to do something that you don't want to do?
No, I never am. I'm good enough friends. They're good enough friends not to subject me to pressure that they just know that they shouldn't.
What about you, Stacy? You subjected to peer pressure to do certain things at times that you don't want to do?
My friends know me well enough they know what I will do and what I won't, and you know, if I don't want to do something, they won't bother asking. They won't pressure me into something. They might ask me to do something. It'll be hard to say no, just like go with them someplace, but they don't ever keep at you to do much. They don't, me anyway.
Jessica?
Well, I'm like Stacy. I'm not under, my friends know me that I'm not gonna do something that I don't want to do, but if it's something that could help them, you know, then I feel kind of obligated to do it. But as for like drugs and alcohol, they know me too well. They know that I'm not gonna do it no matter how much they try to pressure me into doing it.
Well, do you know of people who are subjected to the pressure for drugs or alcohol or other things, and that they do yield to the peer pressure? In other words, how much peer pressure is out there? I understand that each one of you, I learned before this began that all of you are pretty strong-willed, and that's good for each one of you, and you should be. But how many are out there that aren't that strong-willed and are yielding to peer pressure?
I think it's the younger students. I'm more worried about like the middle school age. I've seen so much go on at the middle school, not actually inside the building, but with that age group, and it seems so much worse than high school. I mean, because I think they aren't as self-confident yet, and they give in to more, and I think they'll be into a crowd or something if they do some of this stuff. So I personally think it's starting to get a lot worse in the middle school grade than high school.
You have any comments about that, Stacy?
About what I think about it?
About what you think about it?
I think it's very bad. I think some of the stuff that they're starting to do it's awful. I mean, they're so young. They're just, I don't know.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, of course, there's drugs and alcohol. There's disobeying parents. It seems worse. I mean, I'm sure we have too, but it just seems so much worse now than it ever did with our age group.
You have any comments, Jessica?
I think that it's worse when you're in middle school and freshmen, because they don't know, when you come into high school, the freshmen don't know what kind of people they're going to hang around with, and they're just trying to fit in, so they do what other people do to try to make friends and be accepted.
We've been talking about drugs. We haven't specifically talked too much about alcohol. How widespread is the use of alcohol in the schools insofar as the three of you know, and we'll begin with you, Angelo?
Well, I don't know specifically how widespread the use is, but it seems as though the problem starts at home, probably with the parents, because teenagers, mainly, well, I guess all teenagers in high school, if they're forbidden by their parents when it comes to alcohol, most teenagers, that's just kind of sets them off to want to abuse it. They're more likely to abuse it if their parents forbid them than, you know, if they were more open to their children about alcohol use and didn't just completely forbid them from using it. You know, possibly sometimes at home, showing them, you know, make them knowledgeable about how abusing alcohol is harmful to their bodies, and that occasional, if they wanted to occasionally have alcohol with their parents at home, that would be fine, because when they're told not to, that's what sets them off and makes them want to defy their parents.
Do you ever go to parties, or have you ever gone to parties where there was beer and alcohol present at the party?
Yes, I have.
Would you say that's seldom done or widespread insofar as parties are concerned?
Personally, I couldn't say how often it happens, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say it happens too often.
Have you ever been to any one of the three of you? Have you ever been to a party at one of your peers' home where the alcohol was present?
I have, but it's been known to the parents, and it's kept under control. And the people who don't want to do it, you know, it's not like they have to. It seems like it's always somewhere, you know, and you can't get away from it. And you can't, with like what Angelo said, you can't forbid your children, I don't think, because the more that you tell someone not to do something, not with just drugs or alcohol, but anything, you want to go out and try it, you know, because they don't really, you don't have the experience and the knowledge of what it really does to you. You just know that you're not supposed to. And I think that gives them enough incentive to go out and see what it's like.
Jessica, do you have problems going to a party with alcohol being served?
No, I don't go to too many parties, but one or two that I've been at, they have had alcohol present. And they know, like my friends know that I'm not going to take part, and it just becomes a problem because people just, like every weekend, go to parties and they will try the alcohol and they'll try the drugs because everybody else, the reason is everybody else is doing it. And I don't know, I wish, you know, like parents, they think, well, I wish my kid, you know, the parents, they ought to, you know, kids should think that the parents know more than they do because they've been around longer, but it's just wishful thinking. I don't think it's going to happen. It should happen, but it's not going to happen.
What influence are the parents having? First of all, let's start this way. From your standpoint, and I'm not talking about your individual family, but I'm talking about overall, are the parents, generally speaking, these days, good role models?
Generally speaking, I'd say they are, but it seems as though now, recently, more teenagers don't want to look up to their parents as role models. I don't know for what reason, but generally speaking, I'd say they are good role models. It's just the children don't want to perceive them as role models.
Stacy?
I think parents nowadays are very good role models, and I think not just this town, but every town. You know, you start talking about drugs and alcohol or stuff like that, and they're like, well, the teachers ought to, the parents ought to teach them about all this stuff. And I think the parents play a very big part in it, but it ought to be taught other places where all your peers are, like schools. I think that they ought to play a part in it. That way your peers are all around and you get other insight on other people's point of views other than just your parents. You get other people's.
So I gather you think that normally parents, particularly in this community, are setting good examples as role models?
I think so.
Jessica, do you think parents are setting good examples as role models?
Yes, in this town, and I think they're setting really good, they're being really good role models, but the problem is when the kids don't want to listen to their parents because they know more than their parents do.
Now you're getting into an interesting area that I want to explore. What about the matter of discipline within families these days? You're talking about the children that don't want to do so-and-so. When I was a boy, there were plenty of times that there were things I didn't want to do, but I had certain discipline imposed upon me, both at home and at school, if I didn't do certain things. And I was taught self-discipline. Is that being taught in families today?
I don't think it is. The parents, I think a lot of the parents are too scared. I know that seems kind of strange, but they're too scared, some of them, to force discipline upon their kids, because I know a lot of kids, might actually turn back and hit their parents because, I don't know, I guess because they think they can or something. It's just they're not disciplined like my mother and my grandmother have told me that they were.
Well, are they disciplining you?
Well, I do talk back to my mother, but I'm not gonna go up and try to hit on my mother. No, I mean, I know better than to do something like that. I've got manners and courtesy to other people, but
I suspect that you've got certain limitations and you know where they are, and you aren't going to go over those limitations. Am I not correct?
Yes, you're correct. Very correct.
But I also gather from what you are saying that many families, that is not true.
I don't know. I don't think it's as much as a problem in Glasgow as it is some other towns. It's just that the kids, they don't want to listen to anything that their parents have to say.
I think that's also this age that we're in too. No one wants to really listen to anybody else, They don't want to, like, I know I'm getting to the point where I feel like I should be able to make certain decisions on my own and not have to listen to what my parents think. But, I mean, I know they have a big part in it, and I think that's a big problem where they're this age, they're just getting to where they don't feel like they have to listen to their parents because they're 13 or 14,
But again, I suspect there are certain limitations that you still know, and you don't go beyond those limitations,
right,
even though you may disagree with them.
Right.
Well, now, hasn't that taught you, and isn't that going to help you in the future of controlling yourself and having self-discipline?
I think so.
Angelo, what do you have to say on this subject?
Well, as far as me personally, my family, I know my limitations, and even though in my family such rules aren't strictly written out, and such as, just for an example, a curfew for most high school students, their parents specifically tell them a time. It's not like that in my family, but I do know a reasonable hour to come in, and it's the same way with just other rules. It's not written rule, but it's understood by myself and as it was by my other two sisters, that we get the message from our parents, our limitations and the unspoken rules.
What about smoking? Is it on the increase among teenagers, the decrease, or about the same as you've observed it over the past 2 or 3 years? Again, Angelo.
It seems as though our generation is more health conscious and realizes what smoking can do to you, but unfortunately I don't think it's decreased any, even though the students have, they're knowledgeable about what smoking does to you and how bad it is for you. Personally, I don't smoke, and I don't know many of my friends that do smoke, but I couldn't say that it's decreased or even increased. I don't know specifically.
I have read, Jessica, that it's increasing insofar as teenage girls are concerned, and not necessarily increasing as far as boys are concerned. Have you observed anything like that?
I wouldn't really know. I'm not a smoker. I'm like Angelo. I'm not a smoker. Not many of my friends are. I wouldn't know.
Stacy, any comment?
I don't think it's decreasing at all. I don't really know the past and, the statistics on how many people smoked when, in the 60s or 70s or anything like that, but I'm almost positive that it's not decreasing. But I can't really say for sure. I don't know.
Well,
but I would think that it's increasing.
Do you see any difference in the sexes as to whether there are more girls smoking now than boys, or
I don't really see anything.
You just don't know one way or another? But you know members of both sexes that are smoking. What about politics? Is your generation interested in politics? Do you pay any attention to it? When they're 18, do they vote? Do you discuss local and state and national problems when you get together? Angelo?
Well, our generation, I guess, definitely is worried about certain political issues, not local or state, more because they're not aware of those problems as much as national problems or what they perceive to be problems. But it is a interesting topic of discussion among even students our age. It's a big discussion, and perhaps too much. I feel they could probably be better served discussing school subjects and things besides politics that, to me, I consider more important than politics. They could use some of that energy they use to argue about who's better president, which presidents have been better. They could use some of that energy towards school.
Do many of the students that you've known that have graduated and still have some contact with vote these days or not? I understand you're not 18, so
no, I'm not.
You haven't had the opportunity yet. But,
no, but well, the students that I know, as soon as they turn 18, just about all my friends that have turned 18 were very enthusiastic and excited to go get registered to vote as soon as they turned 18. I don't know if perhaps that's kind of an initial response to one of their other rights as they turn 18, and perhaps they don't find it quite as exciting to vote after they voted their first time. But I know their initial response is very excited.
I gather you're somewhat turned off by politics. Is that correct?
Well, I guess I'm concerned about certain aspects of politics, but I would rather use my energy and speaking and to talk about things that I consider a little more important than politics, possibly.
Why do you not think politics is more important than a lot of things?
Well, to a certain extent, politics is important as far as the presidency, I guess, and Congress and getting bills passed and things done to benefit the nation, but it can be, I guess, carried a little bit too far as far as argument and discussion about certain bills and bills that people perceive to be good for the nation and bad for the nation. It can be discussed. It can be a worn out topic at times.
Stacy, you interested in politics?
Not really. I've talked about, my friends and I will get together and, the issue will come up and we don't really get anything done. We just sit and argue, about who's better or stuff like that. I'm interested in big issues, like Angelo said, that go on, around the nation, more worldwide known events. I'm not really up to date on Glasgow politics. I don't pay much attention to that. I'm more concerned about more important stuff, what I think, in Glasgow. But
is your generation concerned about women's liberation?
well, I personally feel like women take a lot for granted. I think that now that they've gotten certain things accomplished for women, that now they take it so far to where I just think they take it a little bit too far, like women's rights, that they're trying to get too much done. But I'm sure many people disagree with me.
Jessica, what do you think about the women's liberation movement, and do you think your generation of ladies are real interested in that, or do you also think it's overstated these days?
Of course, for women's liberation, but they do take it a bit far, like trying to get jobs, saying sexual harassment. A lot of it's not true, and they just take it too far. Enough's enough sometimes.
Or is your generation real interested in that issue as a whole. You were talking about yourself. Now, what about your peers? What do they think about it insofar as you know? Do you hear much about it one way or another?
No, usually not. We don't talk about politics or anything like that.
What are some of the issues that are some of the things you are interested in? And your generation, your peers?
I think like what's going to happen to the country when people our age get a hold of it, more or less, because of the fact that of the drugs and the alcohol. As for like my friends and women's liberation, I'm sure all of my friends are for it, but I think a lot of them would have to say what I said about they take it too far.
Stacy, what are some of the things that you're really concerned about as you grow up?
The economy, but that kind of contradicts myself because I don't like politics too much. But I am worried about it. I just don't like to sit around and talk about politics too much. That's pretty much, I mean, because everything kind of revolves around that, jobs and how people act. You know, they can be in bad moods because it's going down or something, but that bothers me a lot sometimes.
Angelo, what are some of the things that you are concerned about?
Well, me personally right now, I'm just concerned about finishing my high school career and getting on to college, and I'm not looking too far ahead as far as my career and too far past college, because I'm afraid that may take a few years, and so I'm not too concerned right now about for myself for as a job down the road as of yet. I think there's plenty of time to worry about that before I graduate from college, which probably won't be in the immediate future.
Let's talk a little bit about CARA, the Kentucky Educational Reform Act. Has it made a difference so far in the high school?
Well, I don't know. I know it's made a difference as far as the what's expected of the students. As far as how effective it has been, I don't know really enough about what it's supposed to accomplish specifically to know how effective it has been in working towards accomplishing those goals, but it seems as though possibly they're putting a little bit too much emphasis or expecting too much out of the high school students that have just been subjected to the CARA plan just recently, and it seems like they need to expect more. They're a little bit impatient about seeing the results of it, because I don't think looking simply at the high school students is going to reflect much of how effective it has been. They're going to have to wait a few more years, as far as they're going to have to wait till the middle school or the elementary students come up to the high school and see how effective the elementary students are in writing, and which has been highly emphasized by CARA.
Stacy, has anyone in the school system really explained to you the basis for CARA and what it is supposed to accomplish?
I've heard a lot about the primary because of my mother. She's a kindergarten teacher, so I've heard more about the K through 3 aspect of it. As what it's supposed to do with the high school students right now, I'm not really sure. We've had portfolios and a lot of writing, which I think is good. I know the middle school has had to do portfolios and writings, which is very good. I think that'll help. But I don't know if I like it too much or not. I don't think I like the primary, the K through 3 mixing, and I have aspects of it that I do like, but for the most part I don't think it's going to do a whole lot.
Has there been a noticeable change in the method of instruction insofar as the high school is concerned?
Not really, other than portfolio writing. that's pretty much all that I've heard about it in the high school. Just the writings that we've had to do.
Jessica, what have you heard about it?
At the high school, they don't tell us so much as this is what CARA is and this is why we're doing it. It's just more like, well, we've got to do it, and this is, well, you've got to do it. And there's not a lot of talk about why it's done. It's just, we've got to do it. The state tells us we've got to do it type thing.
They have changed the testing. Has that affected you all yet? I don't know whether you all will be tested sometime this year, if you haven't already, I think, the seniors. Have you already had those tests?
No.
So you haven't been affected by the testing and the change in the testing as yet? Anyone giving you any preview of what to expect by way of changes?
No. As far as how the new tests are going to be conducted and what they're going to test, personally, I don't know exactly what they're supposed to accomplish. I know they're supposed to be more of a hands-on type test, which in one of my classes specifically, my physics class, we have a lot of hands-on tests where it's not strictly just a written test, as most subjects are. It's a hands-on experiment where you conduct your own experiment, setting up the whole thing by yourself, which is very helpful. And I think, from what I've heard of seniors that took the test last year, that's the main portion of the CARA test, is the hands-on and not strictly writing.
What have you been told about it, Stacy, or anything?
I haven't heard a thing.
You haven't heard a thing?
No. I remember the seniors taking them last year. I talked to a few of them about it, and it didn't seem to be anything like the sit-down standardized test. It seemed more like they get in groups and go around to different stations and work on something. They might have to write a little bit, but it seemed more of a group effort than sitting down and filling out Scantrons or something like that.
What do you know about it, Jessica?
Well, a couple of my friends last year quoted that it was a guinea pig test, and that they didn't like it and that it shouldn't be given, but other than that, I wouldn't know.
What did they mean, if you know, by the term guinea pig test? In other words, just an experiment?
Yeah, to see if they wanted to give it to us and the students who are juniors this year, and just to see if it was going to be kept given, I suppose.
How did they do on it? Did you learn anything about that?
No, didn't hear about that.
So you didn't hear any more about it one way or another. Well, what do you perceive as being, and we'll start with you, Jessica, since you're down there, what do you perceive as being important insofar as secondary education is concerned, and what changes, if any, do you think they ought to make?
Like from high school to college?
Yes.
I think they should, we started with the semester test my sophomore year. I thought that was good because the students would know when they got into college that it's not easy. I think that a lot of the teachers should change their way of grading, where if half of the class doesn't do so well on a test, I don't think that they should give them extra points and try to grade it on a curve, because in college they won't do that. Basically, I just think that they need to stop doing, like, give me grades and helping them too much, because when they get in college, I feel that it's going to be harder on them and they're not going to know what to do.
I agree with her.
In other words, both of you think that you ought to get what you earn, and what you don't earn, while you don't get it.
Well, yeah, but don't want to take it all away. I think that most of the teachers have done pretty well with the grading. They might curve it a few points, but I think it's okay right now. Of course, that's because we're getting the better grades once they curve it. Of course, it's not fair if they don't, If some do, and then
Well,
others don't.
You hear and read and hear on television and so forth, or at least I have over the years, I'm sure you all have heard it, about people graduating from high school that could neither read nor write, that they were actually illiterate. Are you having people in the Glasgow High School, insofar as you know, that are graduating and are more or less of that type? They still don't know how to read and write. I'll start with you, Angelo.
No, I don't know of any to that extent, somebody being able to graduate without reading or writing, but it seems as though making good grades and graduating from high school isn't, a person can make good grades and be a straight A student even in high school and not necessarily be overly intelligent, or because most of the tests given in high school are if a student can memorize the information, it's strictly memorization, and just a student that exerts himself and studies excessively even doesn't necessarily have to be overly intelligent to make good grades, which working hard and studying for good grades is definitely commendable, but it seems as though the tests given now that's not gonna happen in college. They're gonna find out that just memorizing the information isn't gonna work in college.
In your opinion, Stacy, what should be the purpose of an education?
I think you ought to learn it. Like Angelo said, most people that I know, for a test, they memorize it, and after the test is over, the next week if they had a test on it again, they wouldn't know half of it. I think it would help if it were more hands-on. For me, I know it would, if it were more hands-on rather than sit down and read a book and have a test. Testing's good, but I think that puts too much pressure on the student to do so well. They feel like they have to make a 95 or a 100 to be doing well in school, and that's not always true. I think you can be very intelligent without having straight A's.
Jessica, what do you think is most important about getting an education and what an education should actually do for you?
I think that it should better the person as a whole, not just in math or science or English, but like manners, and I know that's supposed to be taught at home, but just the person as a whole. I think that education should be centered around that.
Would you agree that one of the major purposes of an education is to teach you how to recognize a problem and then give you the means of getting the necessary information to solve the problem?
Yes, now that Kara has come about, we're doing a lot more with that. But it used to not be where if you had a problem, you'd have to get tools to solve it. You just got an answer and that was good enough. If it was the right answer.
You've emphasized, all three of you have emphasized, and rightly so, the necessity to be able to write. Is there anything in the present system that emphasizes the need to be able to think on your feet and to speak? Now, you three have done well here tonight. Somewhere or other you've picked up the knack. But there are any number of young people that I encounter, you put them up on their feet or in a situation like this, and they don't think very well, and they speak a lot less perfect than you are. Is there anything out there to teach speaking? And by speaking, I don't mean to get up and orate. I'm talking about being able to get on your feet, to think on your feet, and to express yourself. You have anything in the high school that's remotely required to that effect. Angelo?
I've never been subjected to anything like that. There are certain classes where you do have to give an oral report, but usually the teachers are just satisfied with you having the written information down for you and simply rereading it to the rest of the class, which doesn't prove anything about your skills as a speaker to be able to answer questions as we are tonight. I wouldn't say we're doing perfect, but
you're doing rather well.
But there probably should be a little more emphasis. Personally, I think a person that can answer questions and be articulate in answering those questions, that in which they haven't had time to prepare for those questions, I respect a person that can do that much more than a person that can simply read a question and have time to write it out and think it over than simply answering it in an articulate manner.
Stacy? You had any training?
Yes, at home, of course.
Well, I'm talking about in high school.
In high school, no. I haven't ever had a class, I don't think, that they've taught me how. Speech and drama, of course, would help you get up in front of a group of people and give a speech or perform, but that's not required.
You think it's necessary? It should be required?
No.
You don't?
I don't think, no, because speech and drama is more of plays.
Well, I'm not
or
necessarily
speeches
talking about speaking and drama. I'm talking about some means of teaching you how to think on your feet and speak.
Yes, I do.
I think most anything you do these days, you're going to have to do that sometime or other. You had any training along that line, or have you just picked it up, Jessica?
In middle, not in high school, but in middle school there was, like in speech and drama, there was a category where they'd give you a topic and you get a half an hour or an hour to prepare for it. And then you had to give 3 to 5 minute speech on it, but other than that, no.
Are there things that you're expected to learn in high school now that should be taught to you by your parents at home? I'll start with you, Stacy.
Actually, I think more should be taught in school, just everyday things than...
Such as?
I think sex education should be taught in school.
Don't they teach it out here at high school?
Mm-mm.
No sex education course in the high school?
Not that I've ever heard of.
What else?
That's pretty much the main thing that comes to my mind. I don't know. I think a lot is taught at home, and it's done very well.
But again, depending on the parents and the family.
Right.
What do you think that, and again, I'm asking for an opinion, which you may or may not care to express, but generally speaking, do you think parents are teaching sex education?
The basics, I think they are. I don't know many people who just sit down with their children and tell them. I think it's more from your peers you hear about it and around town. I know in school I might have had like one class, like one little week of it in health my freshman year, but ever since then, that's pretty much it. At home, I think that, I don't know, at my house it's, it's taught, but I have a feeling it's not in most homes around town, and that it should be, but...
Jessica, do you think that they should be teaching sex education in high school and other things?
Yes, I do, but it's kind of taught in Biology 1 class, except I know for a lot of people, and including me, it was taught with scientific terms, and a lot of them didn't know, and they just kind of memorized the words, and getting back to like what Angelo said a while ago, just memorize the terms, well enough to pass the test, and then after that, kind of like in one ear and out the other.
Angelo?
Well, it seems as though now I guess parents are a little less apt to approach their children and speak to them about sex education, but it does need to be taught in school to a certain extent. Maybe not a whole course specifically designed to teach about that, because I don't think a whole semester or a whole year needs to be spent on that to get through to students on to be a little more knowledgeable about sex education. But it does need to be taught, because perhaps some students don't have the opportunity to sit down with their parents at times and talk about that.
Is promiscuous sex a problem here in this community insofar as teenagers are concerned? Stacy, you're looking me in the eye.
I don't know if promiscuous sex is. I think it is around. It's I think that I would have to guess over half the high school has had sex. I don't know if it's like within a relationship or if it's just a one-night thing, but it's there. It's going on. I think we need to be taught about it a little more.
Jessica, do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree. I'd have to say better 3/4 of the school. I mean, maybe more than that. I mean, it's just like a weekend thing. I'm going to do this because he'll invite me to prom or take me to so-and-so's party next weekend. I mean, it's taken too lightly.
What's the male viewpoint of this?
Well, I guess as far as the numbers, I guess I would agree with Stacy, but personally I don't like to deal in the affairs of others too much and get in their personal affairs or problems if they have any. And but if as far as the number of people, I guess probably Stacy and Jessica are probably pretty close.
What about pregnancies?
Well, there's too many. To be perfectly honest, I don't know what some teenage girls are thinking when they get pregnant in high school, because they've got practically their whole, most of their lives, which not necessarily having a baby in high school is going to ruin their lives, but definitely can't help. They need to concentrate more on graduating from high school, and if they're not planning on going on to college, they probably need to be better off establishing a job before they decide to have children. And if they do just want to go to college, then having a child isn't gonna help matters much.
Stacy?
There are pregnant students at school, and I don't know if they planned them or if it just happened, but I kind of disagree with what Angelo said in the fact that the ones that I know who have had children at school are planning or have graduated, and I mean, you don't have to go far away to go to school, and maybe your parents could help out with the child, or you could get a part-time job and just go to college part-time and pay for your child to be in daycare. I don't think having a child would restrict you. It would in some ways, but I definitely don't think it will keep you from accomplishing some of the things that, you know, if you set your mind to it, you can do it.
Is it fair to impose that additional burden on the parents?
No, it's not fair, but you know, if they're willing to help out, I would take it. I wouldn't. I would take any help I could get if I were to get pregnant, and I don't know. I think most of the students that I know who have had children, their parents help out quite a bit, maybe more than they should have to, and they don't have to. More, you know, they may want to. Maybe they were in the same situation or something, but they help out, and I think that's good. The girl probably didn't mean to get pregnant, but sometimes it happens.
Jessica, we haven't heard from you on this subject.
It's too common of a thing at the high school for teenage girls to be pregnant, but when Angelo said, you know, they have the child and then kind of have to restrict themselves, I don't think that's so, because their parents, I mean, they're like, if you want to have the child, we'll help, but if you don't, it's your choice. So I think that if they have the child, that it's something that they really wanted to do and that it's not going to restrict them in any way.
Do you think that the high school, such as some high schools in this country are doing today, should make contraceptives available to the students?
Well, if they want them bad enough, they're available. I mean, you can go to the health department and don't have to pay a thing, and nobody has to know. Your parents don't have to know. And if you've got parents like my mother, I mean, who works at a hospital, you know, and teach their children sex education, they're made very available. It's just a matter of this people wanting to use them, and they make the choice not to.
You think they should be made available in school, Stacy?
Yes, I do, but just because they're available doesn't mean people would go and ask for them. I think a lot of times they'd be too embarrassed to go to the guidance counselor and ask. I think that's a big part. I mean, they're available now. You know, you could have some form of birth control if you wanted it. It's just the fact of getting out and doing it, and whether you're willing to or not.
How much is peer pressure involved in this matter of sex with teenagers? Either one of you want to comment about it?
I no one pressures you to have sex. At least they haven't me and my friends. I don't think you're pressured into it. Maybe by your partner or something like that, but your friends don't. They don't tease you if you don't, by any means. I don't think there's that much pressure to have sex if you haven't by the time you're 18 or by the time you graduate high school.
Angela, is there any feeling among the boys out there about having some idea of having accomplished a lot if they had sex with several different teenagers?
Not among my friends. It's not. Maybe among perhaps other groups of boys that seems maybe they have to do. They're probably not confident enough about themselves to feel like accomplishing something else is commendable enough. But among my friends, it's not like that.
You don't hear any bragging about it?
No. No, sir.
What do you think of that, Stacy?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's bragging or not. Seems like there would be, but I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
How much does religion play among teenagers here in this community today? Do most teenagers that you know belong to some religious group, first of all, and secondly, whether or not they participate by attending in the various religious events? Angelo?
Basically all my friends and most of the students at the high school that I know of do attend church. I don't know how active they are in the church events or how religious they are. There's probably a very small group that is very religious and takes part in a lot of religious events, but probably most of them don't because they feel as though maybe right now in their life there are more important things than making a religious commitment. They feel as though, and maybe rightly so, I couldn't say, if finishing, their education and is more important, and their future, not their religious future, is more important.
Do you think it influences their conduct?
I don't know.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about
I'd say
peers
generally, I'd say that religious affiliation or commitment to a certain religion doesn't play a part in maybe some of the decisions that they make.
Stacy?
most people that I know do belong to some denomination or belief. They do. The people that I really am close with are very much active in church-oriented events. And I think it does play a big role on what they think. Not so sure on what they, their actions, but on their beliefs. I think it does play a big part. And one thing is that most children that I know go to a church because their parents make them go to that church. I think most teenagers like to experiment around with different groups or different affiliations and just see which one they like the best. And I don't think that's offered in most households. I think they're required to go to church and stick with that one until they're out of the house and can choose their own.
Jessica, does religion play a part among your friends?
Yes.
Little or not much?
All of my friends are very active in church. I wouldn't venture to say that, I don't know, like Stacy said, they do it because their parents make them do it, and they don't get to pick which religion they want to. They just have to go to church every Sunday with their parents because their parents told them to, make them do it.
We haven't got too much time. I want us to touch on one other subject, which has had much prominence in the country over the past 20 or 30 years. That's the matter of race relations and discrimination, not only from the standpoint of race, but from the standpoint of minorities of all kinds, women and so forth and so on, except I'm always a little leery talking about women as minorities because census figures show that there are more women in this country than there are men, but we tend to think of women as minorities. But we'll start with you, Jessica. Do you feel any discrimination because of your race in school these days? And if so, is it less now or more? Or are we making progress?
I have to say, there's discrimination everywhere you go. You could go to the shopping center and somebody wouldn't like the pair of shoes you're wearing. But as for race, I mean, it's become a matter to me of looking over people because they're not more educated. I know it's their preference, and it's out there. It's always going to be out there. I mean, it's something that you can't get rid of. I don't know. It's always going to be there, but you just got to learn to look over it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, do you find in school that you're excluded from certain groups or certain things that you would like to be in because of your race?
No. At the high school, anything that you want to do, you can do more or less, unless, it's just something that you can't play football, but they made a powder puff football team for the girls, so.
But insofar as you're concerned, you have friends in both races and so forth, and haven't had any problems? Stacy, what's your view on the subject? Do you think it's still out there, or?
Yeah, it's still out there, and at the high school, it's a problem, but I don't think it's any major issue. People get out of hand sometime and, say some things they shouldn't for different races and just gender, it's not just a color thing anymore. It's there, but it's not that bad at the high school, I don't think.
Angelo?
Well, among the general public, I'd say probably, unfortunately, among everyone personally, unfortunately, they may look at someone and it's going to register in their mind that someone's white or someone's black, unfortunately, is seeing everyone as a human being. But as far as restrictions to minorities, at school there aren't none, and it seems as though recently, in the past, I guess, 10 or 15 years, it's discrimination against minorities has lessened as far as access to jobs and being hired for jobs.
Have you been yourself and run into any situation of slight, so to speak, because of your Italian background?
No, none.
I believe that's about it. I certainly appreciate the three of you being here. You have been very frank, very honest. You've articulated extremely well. I think the school system should be very proud of you and the community, and both I and the plant board thank you for coming out here and agreeing to this. I know it wasn't easy, but you've done a beautiful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.